Yeah.
All right. So, welcome, Aneeta ji, and I welcome you to the Education Next podcast. This is a space where we talk about everything which is alternate, existing on this planet. And like your smile, I'm sure you're excited to share all about your work in Orville. So, please tell us more about what you do and how it started. Yeah.
Hi. So I'm Aneeta and I live in Oroville. I'm here since last 12 years
Wow.
now. And I have a 16-year young son
Mm-hmm.
who's also studying in Oroville. And
Mm-hmm.
so the whole idea about being in the alternate space was, first of all, I moved to Oroville because I was quite in awe of the integral education which Mother and Shri Aurobindo has talked about it. So before coming to Auroville, I was in Delhi.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the time when it was time for me to admit my son in nursery school. From nursery, he was going to be in the school system. So
Mm-hmm.
the nursery admissions were on. And I remember I had filled in around 10 to 15 forms. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about like way back in 2010, 11,
Acha.
2010, that was.
Mhm.
And how it would be like it's quite a rat race, I would say. I mean, it's an amazing thing to see how we all parents struggle,
Mm.
finally. So that was the moment. And I just, one day, I was just, you know,
Mm.
he was going to a play school which was run in Aurobindo Society in Navkriti. So
Mm.
we were already, in studying about reading Sri Aurobindo and Mother and knowing about integral education and free progress education.
Mm.
So just happened that I decided, okay, let's go to Auroville.
Mm.
Let's see. So we came, we visited here, we were 15 days, and then I went back. By the time the results were out,
Mm.
and he got in a lot of schools, Sardar Patel, and I was trying to get him into the schools which will not be too much of pressure and all that. And he did make it to those schools.
Mm.
But then I was like, I don't think so. I want to stay back in this system.
Mm.
And I moved to Auroville.
Mm.
And then since then, it's been a journey of,
Mm.
learning together and creating together.
Wow. Mm.
So
Mm.
being here in Pondicherry, Auroville, I happened to teach in Pondicherry University. I was teaching master's students for 3 semesters. And then I taught in a high school also in Auroville. And somehow I felt that, this is not the kind of learning which I want to have or I want to impart to anyone.
Mm.
And I was like, so I would take the students out on the beach and we would see how the beach erosion has happened. And, my area is human rights and environment and development. So I was taking them out in the market, seeing the local vendors,
Mm.
the local ladies who would come. And I mean, we were interacting. I was always out from the classroom. I said, have the practical experience, then we can go to the theory easily. It
Absolutely.
makes sense.
Mm.
So that's when it clicked to me that, I felt that the urge that to create something which will take the students out from the four walls
Mm.
and the textbook learning.
Correct.
And I created these river journeys then.
Wow.
And we said, okay, why not? Let river become our classroom. And I'm very passionate about rivers. I was born at the banks of the Yamuna. I was born in
Mm.
Agra and
Oh,
I grew up in Dehradun, so there were so many
wow.
rivers
You live in all the
around.
beautiful places,
And
huh?
and then now I'm here in Pondicherry, where we have Bay of Bengal. So
uh,
somehow there was always a connection that So I was like, what is it? How would I like my son also to learn, and how do I create something which is said, why not? Like, let's travel the river. I mean, it becomes a classroom for us,
mm.
and you can study any subject while traveling.
Sure.
So we conceived this Ganga Yatra, and in 2016 we did the first Ganga Yatra from Gomukh to Ganga Sagar
Wow.
with we were 17 of us.
mm,
We were four adults, and rest all students from Auroville, from bioregion, and from outside.
mm,
So it was quite a life changing experience, I would say, for myself also as a facilitator.
mhm,
And but I did the yatra before I took the students out. So I did my solo journey by
mhm.
myself.
Wow. Mm,
So I knew that something will certainly change. I mean, this is the kind, because what I feel is all my learning has been from my real life experiences.
mm. That's true.
And the only thing what we don't do is reflect upon them.
Mhm,
So the reflection is missing, because if in this such a it's like a run, no? Every day you get up, you go to your work, you come back, you raising your kids, you taking care of yourself and the family. So you actually are not reflecting back upon your teacher. So experiential learning is, we're all engaged in that,
mhm,
but the real learning will happen unless and until we are not uh, reflecting upon that. We are not taking the learnings from what we have done.
mm,
So though it I made it very simple, that okay, this is how it is.
mm.
And each evening we would have reflection circles as a closing circle. My role as a facilitator became that to create a safe space where we all can have sharing.
Correct.
And the very first day, what we as participants, what we would do as a session was, we would do a life mapping session. So all my river journey starts with a life mapping session
Okay. Mhm,
where we map our life and then we share with each other. And I think it's a very magical activity,
mm.
because you are making yourself vulnerable to the others by
Correct.
sharing your life.
Correct.
And I think the magic starts from there itself. You are opening yourself.
Mm,
And so, and then the second session, what I usually do with my participants is that, we work, because what I strongly believe is that each and every individual has a very special inherent quality in us, in them. All of us carry each way. And these are universal qualities. Each one of us have it.
mhm,
But what has happened over the period of time, we've been conditioned so much by our family, by our partners, by our school system, by the society, that we forget this.
mm,
And most of the time, we are operating from the fear zone, the universal fears. I'm not so good enough.
mm.
What will people think of?
Correct.
Uh, Fear of being rejected,
Mm,
fear of losing someone,
mm,
fear
mhm.
of being ridiculed. So,
Correct.
so if you see, we all are somewhere, all our actions are emitting from these fear.
Mm,
Whereas I have that quality within myself, it should be that quality should be manifesting as an action, no? So the whole idea is we try to recognize what is it that I stand for? What is it that one inherent quality, one or two in me, which drives me, which I'm passionate about, whether it is justice or creativity or beauty or, intelligence or courage or humility. What is it that inside me? And what is the fear that is governing me?
mm.
Because if you see, we all have fears.
True.
So, but can we recognize it? So
Mm,
once these things are done, then we move on to, each day we do reflection circles, we meet in this river journeys, it's an inward and an outward journey. So
mhm,
inward, we go within our own self and try to see the river within my own self, how it unfolds. And outer journeys are, we are meeting people who are passionate about river. We are meeting artists, we are meeting poets, we are meeting bureaucrats, we are meeting politicians, we are meeting pro dam, we are meeting anti dam people, we are meeting the farmers, the boatmen, the
wow.
academicians.
Mm,
We're meeting all sorts of people, those who are, are getting inspired and connected to the river.
mm,
And if you see, everybody is passionate. If you talk to an engineer who's made the dam, he's passionate about his work.
mm,
And an activist who's anti-dam is also passionate about his work or her work.
mm,
So the idea is because they believed in themselves, and
mm,
the engineer believes in that intelligence and that creativity,
mm,
whereas the anti-NAM person believes in the environment and inclusivity and trying to protect everyone. So when that comes out, you see a manifestation of great work.
mhm.
So that's the outer journey we do, and we kind of keep reflection. So when we are doing these reflection circles every day in the evening, the whole idea is this: did I operate from my fears, or did I actually w- operated from the quality which is inherent? Simple questions, and
Correct.
everybody reflects on.
Mhm,
So, and then, we are meeting people, we are talking about them, we are reflecting their work, or how do I connect to these people and what inspires me?
mm,
So, that, and then the peer to peer learning, which is happening
mm.
because you're not alone.
Absolutely. There's a group, there's a team, right?
Yes, that's a group. So, that magic which is created, and it's a safe space.
Mm,
And the best part about these journeys are that, they throw you out of your comfort zone,
mm,
because for 2 weeks to ranging 4 weeks to 5 weeks, we are constantly moving. We
mhm,
don't get the food which we are used to. We don't have our own bed.
mm,
We are thrown totally out of our materialistic comfort zone. And
mm.
I think that's the time when the best and the worst comes out in you.
Correct, correct. You have to manage so many things. Sometimes you're not at the best
Yeah.
mood. Sometimes the environment might not be
Yeah,
conducive. Yeah.
true. And that's the magic. But okay, best and the worst will come out. But can we reflect upon it
Mm,
and see how do I respond in certain situations?
mhm,
How do I respond when I am with a group and I'm not getting my me time, which
mm.
I want?
Correct. I'm craving for
Or
it.
so all these things, when you start reflecting upon, then
Mm,
you start learning about your own self.
mm. You know yourself better. Otherwise, like you say, when
Yes.
you're in a hustle, you wake up in the morning, you go to work, you come back, you have again set of work. You never get to know yourself. You never have the
Yes.
time to ask the question to yourself: do I like this? Do I enjoy this? Do I like talking to these people? Do I like spending time with these people? And sadly, we spend our whole lives going to our office where we don't like anyone, but our life is
Yeah.
over. Right?
So yeah, so that's what I mean. So these a river becomes the medium of joining us, or it becomes a learning instrument, it becomes a classroom, but it has so much to offer. And then there's a river which is flowing inside you, and there's a river flowing outside. It
I
becomes a
love that.
metaphor.
I love that
So
metaphor.
that's the whole, yeah.
Mm,
So that's the whole idea.
mm.
And then we took off and we did Narmada Yatra. We did 2 times, we did the Kaveri Yatra. And then, of course, COVID came and we paused. And now we are restarting again. So
Wow.
most probably in this year, we'll be offering the Brahmaputra and Narmada Yatra again.
Mm, mm,
So I want to continue this. And then because I feel that something shifts,
mm.
something definitely shifts within us when we are on these journeys. Something very beautiful happens. And we might not realize at the moment. I still get calls from my participants and they say, that 4 years ago when we did that, that happened. And, now I can relate to it, how it was. And so, even after years, you have realizations
Mm.
and you can reflect back upon it. So I think it's a very interesting medium, and I want to reach out to as many people as possible. So what I've decided is that I can't do all the rivers. I can't be everywhere. So we're soon going to offer a river coach training, and I'll invite people, those who want to be the river coaches or be involved in this kind of a work. We'll train them, and they go back and they take their own rivers and they start doing there.
That would
So
be
because
amazing.
they will be the perfect people to, because they know the context of their local rivers, their area.
The
Even
story.
if I go, I can only,
Mm.
yeah. So, but they will be the best people to take forward this work. I can do as much as I can, but let them take the pedagogy and then, to make it contextual in their own context and take it forward from there. So that's the whole idea. And I hope the river will keep flowing and we'll keep learning from the river.
I think that's an amazing concept. In fact, our Indian rivers are not much talked about. Even when you read in books, the way you read in books, it's extremely boring. I mean, you have to memorize so many things that you lose interest. Interest, it finishes off
Yeah.
with marking where the rivers are, and then you're like, okay, thank God, good riddance. I don't have to learn it again. But like you say, if you can integrate rivers in a way that, like you said, it's like flowing inside and there's a river outside. And there are so many, folklores and so many stories
Oh,
associated
yeah.
with rivers that it's like you said, every subject can be integrated
Oh,
beautifully.
yeah. So what happens is that each participant chooses a project for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So which is close to their heart and they work throughout, For example, one child chose to just to take portraits, while being. So, you're capturing faces all throughout the journey and you just see them, how beautiful they are. So, one student said, I want to study the flora, from the glacier to the end. One student chose the food habits, the food culture, which we find. So, like this, every child, every participant chooses a project of themselves. Some chose, one girl I remember, she says, I have communication issues. So I will work on my communication in this during this journey. And I want to capture that. That becomes my project.
Wow.
So it was very interesting that, and there is no, you can't confine them in subjects. So you can study history, you can study geography, you can study economics, you name it, and you can study any subject while being on this journey. And we're trying to create a space where you're not just confined in those boxes, but it can be interdisciplinary. Because if you are studying the flora, you are also studying the fauna, you're also studying the geography, you're also trying to learn the history. So everything, chemistry comes, physics comes, everything comes.
Yeah.
So
Oh
you're
my God.
touching.
Think about anything in the river. Right now, I can see so
Yeah,
many
you
things
talk
when you
about economics, you talk about livelihood, you talk about geology, you talk anything. So
start.
the entry point can be any subject. But when you will dive into it, you will see so many links. But when you're sitting inside the classroom and reading from a textbook, it doesn't happen. But when you actually have an experience, life experience, you have a different viewpoint on each certain topic then. So I think it's a very powerful medium that you experience and then you learn.
Mhm. So this is what is what about Anveshan? What is Anveshan
So
about?
Anveshan, that's how. So the first program which we did as Anveshan was these river journey. We started with Ganga Yatra, and then we approached a lot of schools and colleges, and then the everybody loved the idea. Everybody was very excited about the idea, but then there comes a challenge that how many days can we give our students off for going on these programs. So the request started coming in, can you customize for
Mm.
our need and for our. So we started customizing the programs for the need, which the schools and colleges said, okay, we can only give you 7 days, we can only give you 5 days. So then we started, okay, I mean, let's do it. I mean, it's because we're talking about the experience, we're talking about the inner journey where we are. So we started customizing the programs as per their need and as per the context in which they live. So we started doing these experiential learning programs, outdoor learning programs for various schools and colleges and independent programs. So we also have a gap year program which got halt with because of the COVID. Now we will again restart doing. So the we have multiple projects like this where we are creating the curriculums for experiential learning in schools and for outside participants also. But the idea remains this, that it's not just about learning, it's also about unlearning. What we have learned so far, we also need to sometimes unlearn that, because that's not something which is helping me to grow.
Yep.
So that's why the name of my organization is Innovation Experiential Learning and Unlearning Center,
Mhm.
because we have to unlearn what lot of things which doesn't help in my growth. So we have these programs and retreats and 5 days, 7 days programs which we are offering. to various schools and colleges. Even the adult groups comes for these programs.
So that is all
But
happening
we
in
try to source.
Orwell. That's
No, we do in Auroville. We go outside. Like my favorite is of course the Himalayas, where I touch upon. So we do Himalayan retreats and we go out. So, for example, a Chennai school would go nearby, Delhi school would go nearby their areas like that. So we develop programs like
so all the concepts are around rivers. That's what I understood.
are around rivers, nature, and environment. We try to take everything into being. So not all the programs are around. The river journeys are specifically there. That's one program which is our USP, which we keep it. And the other retreats happen as per the needs. But the crux remains the same, that we are trying to find that one inherent quality within myself. And I want to harness that hero within myself. And the medium can be, you can go to Humpy, you can experience that, but still start working on yourself and reflection.
So
So we
basic,
don't miss out the experiential learning. You can be anywhere, any
okay. So
part of the world,
all right, and
but the essence will remain the same.
all right. So you're visiting anything or being going anywhere, but basically you are guiding them through inside and outside of understanding
Yes.
these journeys. And so, is there a space
Yes.
as well in Orwell about? Is there a learning space as well where people are coming, kids are there? Is there a space like that as well?
So, Auroville is not it's, if you see, Auroville is itself is like a university. The
Mm-hmm.
campus of Auroville itself is a learning lab, what we call.
Mm-hmm.
So there are multiple projects happening, and you can get involved in any kind of a projects, and you can weave that thread of learning here. So we won't say that we have one specific center or two specific center. You can come and build your curriculum being here in Auroville itself for learning.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the entire organization or the institute, or we call it a township. It's a small spiritual international township we have. It itself is called a university in itself. So anyone who's coming to Orwell will realize that, I cannot just stick by to one program or one space, but there are multiple learning spaces which are there, and you can weave your learning experience like that.
Mm-hmm. Basically, pick and choose what interests you.
Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
We do. There are multiple choices, music, dance, creativity, to science, to architecture, to green practices, to organic farming, to forestry. You name it, and everything is happening here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the whole idea is that I can design my own learning journey.
Mm-hmm. Depending on what are your interests, or maybe you can discover your
Yes.
interest there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
This is about the
Yeah.
Anvation program that's happening. It's around
Yes.
rivers, it's around experiential learning, no matter where you
Yes.
are and what you do. Even people can come there and experience that with you in that space as well, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. And
That's
how
right.
how older or younger kids are involved? Is there an age that
So So in the river journeys, basically we take 16 plus, 16 to 28. That's the age group which we take, because these are little intense journeys
Mhm.
which are there. And the other programs we offer to the age group from 9 to onwards.
Mhm. That is the other programs like the ones you're doing for schools is what
The
you.
retreats, the school programs, all these programs are for multiple age groups.
Is there a clash between when you're doing in schools because of unlearning approach or unschooling sort of an approach? Do you ever have experienced a clash when working with schools, something like that?
Not, not really, actually, because we don't talk about unschooling as such, but we
Mm.
talk about unlearning a lot. And so far, I have not come across any single school or any parent who says we don't believe in this unlearn.
Mm.
Because I think everybody resonates that there are few things which have been fed to us and we have become conditioned, which we really need to drop. So it's interesting. They also find it interesting that, okay, yes, sometimes the adults are saying we also need to go on, these kind of programs. So we unlearn what we have gathered
Absolutely.
on. Yeah. So far there has been no resistance, and we are not speaking about unschooling. I'm not, to be very frank, I'm not a radical of saying that school system is. We should do away with school system. School system needs to be relooked for sure.
Mhm.
What we are teaching and how we are teaching needs to be relooked. But I think, for example, I have enjoyed being in a school.
Mhm.
I think I would look forward to being even one single day of holiday. I would despise. I will no, 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 no. I want to go back to school. So
Mhm.
and it was just a simple mainstream school. It was not a very alternate school or something. But I would look forward to being in school to learn, to be with my friends, to to be. I was quite a person in sports, so to play around. So I would look around. Maybe there were not many options, but I would look, and I've been a rebel. I would question my teachers and question the system. So it's not that.
Mhm.
So I won't say that any space is bad or good,
Mhm.
but it depends on how do we actually try to take the best out of one individual. How do we empower each individual that the best is coming out in that?
And
That's
about
the thing. I'm also not saying that, the mainstream schooling system is perfect. We need a lot of change in that. And I think
absolutely.
in the past 15 years, there has been a tremendous change which is coming.
Mhm.
15, 20 years, a lot of people are rethinking, reimagining how the education should be. And what? So that wave has already started. And we have a lot of alternative spaces coming up, which you see, they're amazingly beautiful. Each space you look at, and even now, I don't know whether it is a compulsion or what. The schools have started relooking into how they should be teaching the students, and a lot of schools are becoming progressive and democratic in their approaches, how the learning should happen. So it's a very vibrant field, that how the education should be, and more notions are getting challenged, more and more theories are coming up, and yeah, a lot of people are happily creating new ventures and venue around it.
Absolutely. So there is a growth of, there's a
Yes.
spurt basically. A lot of micro schools, a lot of alternate spaces now. People are like
Yes.
you were inspired by your own kids. So many parents are getting inspired. They are starting small centers around their
Yes.
interest, which if it vibes with someone, they just join and they become a part of it.
Yes.
And I think when you came to, Pondicherry 16 years ago, was your child in Oroville, learning in Oroville, or was he outside? How was it at that time?
No, we came directly to Oroville, and we started living here. So
Mhm.
this became our home. So he's a child of Oroville. So, and I thank that. I think I'm blessed to be here. We both are blessed to be here, because it's not one individual who he learned from, or one school he learned. It's rightly said, na, the raising of the child is done by the entire village.
Mhm.
So it's aptly said here. I would say that he was raised by Oroville.
Mhm. There was a school there inside, or it was a free learning
Yeah, yeah.
center?
We have our own schools inside Oroville. So he was going in Oroville schools. He still is part of Oroville schooling
How do you
system.
feel that you made that decision of going there? How content or fulfilled do you feel?
Oh, I think I'm blessed. I think I took the right decision.
Okay.
There's no second thought on that,
Mhm.
for sure.
And before we wrap up, what would you like to say to parents who are, or learners who have a confusion in their life, and what do you think they should do about taking an alternate journey? What would be your words to them?
See, one thing is, what I really want to emphasize on is this: you can be part of any kind of a education system. It can be a mainstream schooling, it can be unschooling, it can be no schooling, it can be homeschooling, it can be any. The only thing which I really request all the parents is, you know, be open to listen. deep listening with your child, and the magic happens there. Don't be judgmental. We all tend to be. I also, till now, tend to be like that. Sometimes I forget and it becomes it. I mean, it happens. But that communication with your child, to have that space, safe space within your own family that your child can express without any fear,
Mhm.
and that will be a blooming, and be a co-learner, you know. I remember my son was very young and he asked me something and I didn't know about it. So at one point I was like, how can I not know? No, I'm supposed to give answers to him. And then I was like, no, it's not necessary.
Hmm.
Why should I be knowing everything? Then I told my son that,
Hmm.
it's not that mama knows everything. Let's learn together.
That
And I
acceptance.
think that changed everything, that it's not that everything was. So otherwise, imagine the kind of burden I would have been carrying, that mama knows everything and
I think
she has every answer.
that's the part
So
for a teacher or for a parent. The journey with
yes,
your child or the child who's
yeah,
becomes very interesting because your curiosity develops more and more when don't
right,
say, why do you have to learn this? It's not there in your curriculum, or I don't know.
yeah,
And
yeah,
instead, instead of being a co-learner, like you said, and I think that's an
yes,
amazing message for everyone listening to this. Thank you so
yeah,
much, Anita, for being here with us and sharing amazing things. I look forward to your river journeys, which is going to start soon, and
sure.
love to know more about the river journey because it sounds very, very interesting. Thank you so much for being here and sharing so much with us. Thank you, Anita.
Thanks, Priyanka. Thanks. And hopefully you'll join us one day.
Oh, sure. We would love to. Ali and I are like, we are crazy for such things, so we'll be there anytime soon. All right.
Sure.
Bye bye.
Okay. Thanks, Priyanka. Bye. Bye.